Why I am no longer a Lightworker. No, I haven't turned to the dark side, but rather I am transcending sides. This article is probably the most important piece I have written to date, and in order to convey the full message, a bit of backstory is necessary. Hang in there with me, and by the end you will understand why I will never call myself a Lightworker again. Planet Earth and much of our corner of the universe has been under a spell for a very long time, a spell which casts doubt within our minds about whether or not we are connected with the infinite source of all creation. The spell causes us to feel alone, vulnerable and isolated, cast out from the heavenly realms into a cruel, dog-eat-dog world. This spell is pure fiction, a deception of the highest order, but it has taken hold deeply on this and other worlds. Intrinsic within this holographic spell is the notion that duality and polarity are natural aspects of life, and that we must serve one side of duality or the other. This elegantly simple binary imprint has become so prominent that we have lost sight of the larger holographic spell that spawned it. Indeed, we have lost sight of the hologram altogether, and come to believe that it is the sum total of reality. Humans have been conditioned to worship the holographic deception and the agents that perpetuate it. This hologram has been called Maya by the Hindus, and the Gnostics referred to it as the corrupt demiurge. I find this term a highly accurate description, and from the point forward I will refer to it as the corrupt demiurge. Dark versus false light. Duality of the demiurge. In order to capture and control the widest possible spectrum of souls, the corrupt demiurge split its agents into two seemingly opposing teams, dark versus false light. Not everyone can be a saint, so there must be room for sinners within the demiurge, as long as everyone involved is under its spell. What matters most to the demiurge is that we worship it or one of its agents, regardless if they are on the light team or the dark team. There are many names of the players within this cosmic, multi-dimensional drama that you will have no doubt heard of, such as Lucifer, Jehovah, Beelzebub, Archangel Michael, Satan, different dude than Lucifer, Ashtar, dozens of angels, supposedly ascended masters, and various other channeled entities. While some of these beings play for Team Dark, and some play for Team False Light, they are all ultimately playing for the corrupt demiurge that controls them. This, in essence, is the big secret of the Archons. They are not just the evil, demonic beings, but also those who pretend to be angels and ascended masters. What is the point of all this control? The corrupt demiurge is an entropic system of artificially induced separation consciousness that is slowly dying, and it depends on harvesting the energy from the souls incarnated within its system in order to preserve its existence. In order to harvest the largest amount of soul energy possible, it created the dark-light duality paradigm to ensure that every being incarnated on a world that is under its spell would serve as a soul battery to help keep the demiurge energized. The good souls would seek out the false light team, and the bad souls would seek out the dark team, but unknown to most of those souls, they are all serving the same system. In order to keep the duality game interesting for its participants, the demiurge set up densities of existence that initiates on the dark and light paths could ascend through. This gives the beings moving through these densities a feeling of accomplishment, when in fact they are navigating through a labyrinth of demiurgic illusion. The players at the higher levels of the hierarchies know that they are in a self-serving system, but they are fine with the deal, because they get to wield power and receive the energy of worship from beings further down the ladder. What about the spiritual hierarchy? Most channeled beings will claim to be affiliated with the false light-based spiritual hierarchy, which includes archangels, ascended masters, and positive ETs. These channeled messages are a dime a thousand, and more keep pouring out every day. The dirty little secret is that these beings are beholden to the corrupt demiurge, and are waging a psychological battle on people that don't want to be associated with any formal religious structure. In other words, the New Age is a multi-dimensional psychological operation designed to channel the soul energy of the believers of these teachings up to the ascended teachers. Another one of their secrets is that most of the so-called ascended masters in their hierarchy never had a human incarnation. These are incredibly deceptive beings that are playing a game in order to garner the energy of worship. In the real universe of non-deception, nobody would worship them, but in the illusory sub-universe of the corrupt demiurge, they are able to trick good-hearted people into pouring energies of love, devotion and praise into them. As for the angels, they are in more or less the same category. They are not aligned with the infinite source of all creation, but rather they serve a lesser being posing as the creator, the corrupt demiurge. Therefore they are not what I would call angels at all. In honor of the truly deceptive nature of these beings, I have given them a new, more accurate title, the spiritual hierarchy. The dark side makes the false light look good. The two teams have to play their parts convincingly, and the dark team has really embraced their role as villainous scum ready to kill, rape, torture and do any sort of depraved thing that they can get away with. The dark side is designed to be incredibly repugnant so that the majority of good souls will run to the other end of polarity, right into the loving embrace of one of the false light's patriarchal religions, or to their new age religion with its legion of channels and masters. Earth has been a difficult planet for the corrupt demiurge to fully control. Human beings were once very aware of their connection to infinite source and all of life, and that awareness has been maintained by spiritual individuals throughout the entire reign of darkness on this planet. Because this awareness could not be beaten out of us by the dark forces, a plan was formed to co-opt the spiritual nature of human beings. First, patriarchal religions were formed and imposed on as many people of the world as possible. Anyone who didn't adhere to one of the major religions was an outcast for much of history, until the last century when the Theosophist movement was born, which set the foundation for the New Age movement to emerge in the 50s, 60s and 70s. The New Age movement has continued to gain momentum as it has attracted many of the people who turned away from the hypocrisy of patriarchal religion. The corrupt demiurge seems to have an easy answer for any of the inner turmoil that humans experience. If religion doesn't serve to appease an individual, then the New Age will do just fine. It's all the same to the demiurge, as long as we pick a side that it controls. This is why we need to transcend sides altogether. Channelers are being deceived. I wrote an article back in 2011 about some of the problems with channeled messages, which you can find here for more background information. If religion can be said to be the opiate of the masses, then channeled messages would be the hopium of the disgruntled minority. Every channeled message that comes from the spiritual hierarchy is essentially the same when you strip away the fluffy talk and storyline that is being used to couch the message. Here is every modern channeled message, condensed into a few lines. Dear ones, you are greatly beloved by all of us in the spiritual hierarchy. We long to reunite with you, for we are your long-lost family. Stay strong and hold on to your light, because we will make our presence known to you soon. Keep waiting, and suffering, and hoping for us to come and rescue you from your situation. When we arrive, we will build a golden cage for you on Earth. I used to think that this nauseating disinformation coming from Archangel Michael, Saint Germain etc. was the result of dark side interference taking over the channels without their awareness. What I didn't understand back when I wrote, "Who's really on this channel?" is that transmissions from truly positive beings weren't being intercepted and corrupted by the dark side, but rather the messages were coming from false light beings of the spiritual hierarchy. Lightworkers are being thoroughly used. Back in 1998 when I first got into the energy clearing genre, I had never heard the term Lightworker even though it had already been coined. It first heard it sometime in the early 2000s, and it sounded weird to me at the time. Now I understand why, because the light that the spiritual hierarchy is trying to get us to work for is the false light of demiurgic duality. You see, there is a massive effort underway by beings that I now call divine agents to completely obliterate the corrupt demiurge. When that happens, all of the beings who have gained power through the demiurge will lose that stolen power and will have to face up to the deceptions that they have been propagating. None of them want that to happen. So in their cleverness they devised a brilliant plan to undermine the entire effort. The plan was simple: approach all incarnated divine agents, usually in a dream state but sometimes during an ET abduction scenario, and tell them that in order to fulfill their mission, they need to work for the false light and take orders from the spiritual hierarchy. This plan worked amazingly well, largely because divine agents have had a hard time living on Earth. Societies here are badly warped, spirituality is twisted and abused, the vibrational density is heavy, our memories are mostly wiped, and we generally would rather not be here. So any being that emanated light, even false light, and love could make a divine agent feel like they were making valid contact with truly divine beings. I still remember my own recruitment by the false light that occurred when I was 6 years old in an extremely vivid dreamtime experience. They had me convinced that I was fulfilling my mission as a divine agent by working for them. I think they always knew I would figure them out, although it took a very, very long time. Ever wake up more tired than when you went to sleep? Many divine agents who were recruited as light workers report that they wake up more tired than when they went to bed, and their dreams were full of battles. During these dream missions, the spiritual hierarchy squeezes those they control of as much energy as they can. You may wake up with memories of having gone on missions to battle the dark, but the end result is that your body, mind and soul are depleted of energy which was harvested by the false light beings. A few months ago I revoked all agreements made with any and all beings that did not have my best interests in mind, no matter who the beings were or claimed to be. It sounds like such a simple thing, but somehow I had overlooked it. During the process, I felt resistance from beings who were claiming to be positive, but I stood strong and told them that I refused to be manipulated into giving energy to the demiurge. This has given me the distinct privilege of being targeted by both the dark team, ankle biters, and the false light team, spiritual hierarchy. The false light team does indeed engage in psychic warfare, just in different, more subtle ways than their dark brethren. Deflecting these attacks has been worth it because I know that I am more aligned with my true mission to put an end to the demiurge without being sidetracked into duality battles. It is also very nice knowing I am going to get a good night's sleep when I go to bed because I am not going to be pulled into any ridiculous missions to battle the dark that the false light beings are so fond of setting up for their light workers. That phrase actually creeps me out now that I know its true origins. What was that about a golden cage? The false light beings working for the corrupt demiurge want to maintain their control over the human race. Our soul energy and agreements to live in our current cage empowers the demiurge and the beings that serve it, and they are not going to give that energy up easily. We are, at this very moment, in a struggle for our freedom. The spiritual hierarchy wants to move us from our current, extremely uncomfortable cage into a slightly more expansive state of existence, but one that they are firmly in control of. One metaphor to describe our current situation is that we are like a flock of chickens pent up inside a tiny, dark, smelly chicken coop. Those that have been farming us are preparing to let us out of the coop, and into a larger fenced-in area where we will be able to feel a little more free, but still within their control. This is the farmer's way of ensuring that they can continue to feed off of our energies, while making us feel that we are free, thanks to the kindness of our captors. The spiritual hierarchy does not want us to grow on our own to a place of self-empowerment that will allow us to simply walk away from their entire control system. This is why the channeled messages subtly disempowers people, while pretending to actually offer them an empowering solution. As long as we are sitting and waiting for the good guys to come and save us, we will not be able to discern who truly has our best interests at heart, nor will we be able to actually fix our own problems for ourselves. Solutions for the duality afflicted. So how does a person get out of this duality paradigm? The first step is to engage the self-clearing system protocols and revoke all agreements that you have made with any beings that don't have your best interests in mind. Next, revoke all agreements to see reality in polarized terms. Every time you revoke agreements, Be sure to reclaim your energy that had gone into them. Then affirm your commitment to transcend the control paradigms of the corrupt demiurge without being sidetracked by pointless polarity battles. I also recommend a brief daily practice of revoking all agreements to experience hardship, limitation, bad relationships, health problems, financial problems, family dysfunctions, and anything else in your life that is energy draining. The number and quantity of agreements that we have unconsciously taken on within this false reality matrix are truly astounding. When you pay attention to the subtle and blatant agreements that point to the invisible bars of your prison, you will indeed find that there is no shortage of agreements to be revoked. After you have engaged this process, you may notice less contact from the false light beings, and you might feel a little lonely until you get used to the changes. This is a very good time to strengthen your connection to your own higher self, the core of Earth and the galactic core. As you adjust, you may notice better sleep and a sense that you can see through deception disguised with positivity more easily. If you do get contact from a being, you can tell it that you are only willing to communicate with beings who have transcended duality and are outside of the corrupt demiurge. Put any being trying to contact you to the test. Question them point blank, are you part of the demiurge? The beings of true divine light who exist outside of the demiurge, in the real universe, will happily answer your questions. Just be aware that they don't speak in language the same way that we do, as they communicate with what I call soul telepathy. Type of communication is a major indicator. The forces of true divine light that exist outside of the corrupt demiurge are not bound by the left brain right brain dynamics and dark light polarities that define the demiurgic sub-universe. This means that they do not sound like a voice in your head. Instead, they use soul telepathy to emanate feelings, archetypal expressions, and an extremely pure quality of light that speaks directly to your soul. The difference between a being of true divine light and one of the false light spiritual hierarchy beings is that the former's light is warm, enveloping, pure and unconditionally loving, whereas the latter's light is cool, piercing in an uncomfortable way, dominant and often overly masculine. The spiritual hierarchy is a male-dominated group, and even the females within their power structure have a very masculine energy. This male domination is, of course, why the religious structures the hierarchy enabled all have a domineering male god, and no mention of an all-encompassing, feminine creator. Another major difference between false light beings within the demiurge and beings of true divine light who are aligned with infinite source is that the divine light is not controlling, manipulative, bossy or judgmental in any way. Infinite source will not impose an agenda upon you, although it will support you in your chosen mission to help dismantle the corrupt demiurge. You won't be given marching orders by infinite source or beings of true divine light who operate outside of the demiurge. They won't send you on endless, energy-draining missions in your dream time, and they won't ask you to do something that will result in loss of your soul energy, unlike the imposters in the false light spiritual hierarchy. The beings of true divine light are supportive, loving, nurturing, and they care about you as an individual. You are not just a cog in a machine to them, for they understand that you are a vitally important aspect of an intricately interconnected creation. They have the utmost respect for those of us who volunteered to incarnate into the beast system of the corrupt demiurge in order to help dismantle it from the inside. Indeed, there must be divine agents working both from within and outside of the corrupt demiurge in order to dismantle it. Discernment is vital. I will be writing more on this topic and its many implications. In the meantime, I urge you to drastically increase skepticism and fine-tune your discernment. Apply your intuition and logic to information that you receive, and ask yourself, what is the agenda here? There is indeed a very large, multi-dimensional conspiracy at work on this planet, and it draws power from us by pushing us into one spectrum of polarity or another. Anyone urging you to choose a side simply hasn't woken up to the fact that both sides are two halves of the same coin that is controlled by the corrupt demiurge. I urge you to discuss these ideas with those close to you and look for ways that you may have been manipulated by the false light in the past. It's nothing to be ashamed of, The false light beings are amazingly skilled liars and manipulators. Most of you reading this have already chosen to be a divine agent and incarnate for the purpose of dismantling the demiurgic control system. You have already made your choice, and now you need to carry out your individual mission. In order to do that, it is vitally important to sever all ties with the false light spiritual hierarchy. Take some time to regain energy and strength if necessary, and ask your divine inner self to reveal to you what it is that you specifically need to do. Stand strong in the true light of your divine inner self and infinite source. Much love, Cameron Day.